Use the definition to find the derivative of f of x equals 2x cubed minus x squared plus 3x minus 10. Then evaluate f prime of 1. The first thing to do is write down the definition of the derivative. F prime of x equals the limit as h goes to 0 of f of x plus h minus f of x divided by h. The next thing to do is to figure out f of x plus h, which means to take f of x and replace all of the x's with x plus h's. In parentheses, that means we will have, instead of 2x cubed, we will have 2x plus h quantity cubed. Instead of minus x squared, we will have minus x plus h quantity squared. Instead of a 3 times x, we'll have a 3 times x plus h, and then we'll have minus 10. And from this, we subtract the entire f of x. Make sure to put parentheses around the entire f of x. We have to subtract every term, which means that each one of these terms is going to become opposite sign of what they are right now. So the negative will distribute on them. All of this is divided by h. Right now we have the 0 over 0 indeterminate form, and we will continue to have that until we can cancel that h in the denominator with an h that factors out in the numerator. To get an h to factor out in the numerator, we're going to have to expand all of these expressions, distribute, combine like terms, at which point you should have terms that only have an h in them, and the h can then factor and cancel, and we can take the limit at that point and no longer be 0 over 0. So that's our goal here, is to do that work. So we need to expand 2 times x plus h cubed. Well, that will be 2 times x plus h times x plus h times x plus h minus x plus h squared, which is an x plus h times an x plus h, plus 3 can distribute into the x plus h, and that'll give us a 3x plus 3h. We have a minus 10. We have, distributing the minus sign, a negative 2x cubed, a positive x squared, a negative 3x, and a positive 10. And all this is divided by h. Now we will begin to FOIL out. This first set, we have x plus h multiplying itself 3 times. I'm going to start by pairing off 2 of them. I'll just do the second 2 of them and FOIL that out. First, x times x is x squared. Outside, x times h, and inside, h times x. Those are the same, and we'll add together into 2hx. And then last, h times h is h squared. I'm going to also FOIL out the x plus h times x plus h here. It actually will result in the same thing. We'll have an x squared, we'll have a 2hx, and we'll have an h squared. Just be sure to keep it in parentheses. That minus sign will distribute into each of those. We have a plus 3x, a plus 3h, a minus 10, a minus 2x cubed, a positive x squared, a negative 3x, and a positive 10. And this entire thing is divided by h. The next thing we're going to do is FOIL out further the x plus h times the x squared plus 2hx plus h squared, and we're also going to distribute the minus sign in to this expression right here. So let's make that happen. So we have limit as h goes to 0 of 2 times. Now when we FOIL out an x plus h times an x squared plus 2hx plus h squared, you're going to distribute the x first into each of those. So we have 2 terms. We have an x, we have an h, x plus h, multiplying 3 terms. x squared plus 2hx plus h squared. 2 terms times 3 terms gives us 6 terms. And we want to take them one at a time. So we're going to send the x through each of them first and then the h through each of them next. And that'll give us the 6 terms. So I'm going to do x times x squared. That will be x cubed. X times a positive 2hx, which will be a positive 2hx squared. And x times a positive h squared, which will be a positive h squared times x. So there's the x having gone through each of the 3 terms, and there's its 3 terms. Now we'll send h through each of them. So the next is going to be h times x squared, and then h times a positive 2hx, which will give us a positive 2h squared times x, and then h times a positive h squared, which will give us a positive h cubed. I'm also going to distribute a minus sign, so I will have a negative x squared, a negative 2hx, and a negative h squared. I still have the plus 3x, the plus 3h, the minus 10, the minus 2x cubed, the positive x squared, the minus 3x, and the positive 10, and all of this is divided by h. The next step is to distribute the 2 into that entire expression. At that point, we should be able to start to cancel out and combine like terms. Distributing it in, I'm going to have a 2x cubed, a positive 4hx squared, a positive 2h squared x, a positive 2hx squared, a positive 4h squared x, a positive 2h cubed, and then the remaining terms, negative x squared, negative 2hx, negative h squared, a positive 3x, a positive 3h, a minus 10, a minus 2x cubed, a positive x squared, a minus 3x, and a positive 10. Looks like a lot, but if you take it just step by step and just rewrite these, it isn't too bad to deal with. All that divided by h. Our goal is to get an h to factor in the numerator and cancel with the h in the denominator. But before we do that, we have to combine any like terms. It'll just make things a lot easier. So I see that we have a 2x cubed here and a negative 2x cubed over here. Actually, every term that doesn't have an h should have something to cancel with, so that helps to find what we'll be canceling. For example, the next term that doesn't have an h, I have a negative x squared here, and that'll cancel with a positive x squared over here. I have a positive 3x and a negative 3x, those will cancel. And I have a negative 10 here and a positive 10 here, and those will cancel. The remaining terms, we should be able to combine some of them as like terms together, but all of them have h's in them, which is good because we're going to need to factor the h out. Let's see if we can locate any like terms in here. I have a hx squared here and an hx squared here. Those will be able to combine together. It's a positive 4 and a positive 2, so a positive 6 hx squared. I have an h squared x here and the h squared x here. I can combine those, so that will give us a positive 6 h squared x. I have a 2h cubed. I don't have anything else that I can combine that with. So I have positive 2h cubed. I have a negative 2hx. I have a negative h squared and a positive 3h. None of those had anything to combine with. But all of them do have an h in them, which means our next step is to factor an h out. and that will give us 6x squared plus 6hx plus 2h squared, just removing h from each of these, minus 2x minus h, and a positive 3. Taking one of their h's out. Because until then, we're going to continue to have the 0 over 0 indeterminate form. But now that we've done that, those h's can cancel, and we no longer have the 0 over 0 indeterminate form. So we should be able to plug a 0 into the remaining h's. Let's rewrite what we have before we do that. So we have a 6x squared. We have a plus 6hx. We have a plus 2h squared, a minus 2x, a minus h, and a plus 3. Plugging a 0 into the remaining h's, all of the terms that have an h left in them are going to become 0. So I'm going to be left with 6x squared minus 2x and plus 3. And that's our derivative function. The next thing that we wanted to do is evaluate f prime of 1. So f prime of 1 means to plug a 1 into the x's of f prime of x. So we will have 6 times 1 squared minus 2 times 1 plus 3. 1 squared is 1 times 6 is a 6. Minus 2 times 1 is a minus 2. Plus 3, so we have 6 minus 2, which is 4, plus 3, which comes out to 7.